What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and we're doing a tier list for DD2 heroes today because we've gotten quite a few hero reworks this year. So we got Grave Robber, Highwayman, Jester, Man-at-Arms, Vestal, and the last one of these I did was, I think, December. So now we're gonna take another look at it. You know, some of the heroes have changed, the game's changed a bit, and you know, more strats always emerge, and so we'll talk about where they end up. And if you enjoy the content, hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You want to support the channel, check out the box. There's Patreon, Discord, Twitter, Twitch, probably some other stuff I don't even know anymore. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that now. And so we're going in order from left to right. I kind of wanted to keep the list off screen as much as possible, because people like to do this thing where they just jump to the end, screenshot it, never listen to what I say, and then like talk trash. But who cares, right? So I'm doing it for you, humble viewer that likes to watch the whole thing. So yeah, with Plague Doctor, we'll just talk about her and then I'll rank her. And she's been a powerhouse since Paths. Like, she was pretty good before Paths, but once she got Alchemist, this character went to another level of dumb, because you get these resistance piercing on 2 really high damage moves for damage over time, and she gets a bunch of other resists, which more than offset this minus 20% max. So yeah, she loses what, 6 HP? That's fine. Not like, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about Wanderer first. So Noxious, really good damage. The combo effect is nice, but again, Alchemist exists, so if we eventually take that away, this combo effect becomes more relevant, which is nice. Enemy resist as a whole kind of need a tweak, but that's another topic. But otherwise, Modest crit 5 and 6 blight, so this is like, if it sticks, obviously, it's 21 to 22 damage. That's a lot, right? For one move. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to push out, but you know, other characters with mastery like Hellion, if she's not Ravager, with Howling End, that does like 10 to 18, and you can only use it every couple turns. So you're really seeing how strong this can be, because it has to deal with all the same things that a normal just attack deals with, like dodge, blind, block, weaken even, and crit, of course. And a lot of the times damage over time wins in terms of overall damage output, but like obviously there's other modifiers, you know, flat damage scaling or strength, crit, you know, that can really juice up things, where like Noxious can hit up to, I don't know, 30 or something like that on a crit, whereas Howling End juiced up against like a Vuln token can crit for like 80. So it's consistency versus higher ceiling. And Noxious still does really good damage, and the launch ranks are pretty good, so she can use it everywhere but the front. Blinding Gas, pretty interesting move that could be better. The combo on application is pretty low. Granted, it's 2 targets, but there aren't too many great, amazing combo moves that hit like 3 and 4. And I know people are gonna find like every single specific example. You have Grave Robber, who never crits on combos, so she's just gone. But no, there's like Pistol Shot, Brushes up front, Leper up front, Finale can hit it, but you know, that's Finale, and I'm sure there's a few others. But a lot of the combo moves, especially like the stuns, like Stunning Blow, Rampart, whatever, they can only hit the front couple. So combo isn't something that's really great against backline units. The blind is nice, but you're doing 0 damage and it has a cooldown of 1 turn. The daze is cool, but it's like you can throw this every other turn, or you could just hit Plague Grenade or even Encore Plague Grenade. I can use Encore as every example, but like, this just pushes out so much damage. Like, 2 Plague Grenades kill most backlines by itself. Or you can just, you know, whittle them down with combos and blinds and eventually, right? So, not the greatest, could use some help. Incision. Very good move, hits pretty hard, bleeds very solid. I actually talked about this in a recent video saying it's underrated. Battlefield Medicine, no changes, still a very fantastic move. Back when the game came out, they said healing is limited. Battlefield Medicine was probably the reason they said that. Same with, not even Absinthe. It was just Battlefield Medicine. And then every other heal in the game became spammable. Except for Absinthe and a couple others that got, like, tweaked and toned down. But it was just something funny, you know, that a stated design goal quickly became irrelevant. That's what I'm saying. Ounce Prevention, pretty good in creature dens, good in bosses. Sucks against Ordainment because they get like a native 10% res piercing. So if you don't master this, it's only 5% res, waste of a turn. And if you master it, it's only 15, and a lot of heroes have like mediocre or low damage over time resist. So this move could be better. But like I said, in creature dens, gets a lot of value just because you see 3 of these attacks or these effects consistently: bleed, blights, and disease. And if you're in Act 2, you can even see burn. Oops, I clicked it off. Plague Grenade, I alluded to this, very powerful, does way too much damage, even baseline, so really needs like a -1 damage nerf at this point. Emboldening Vapor is pretty cool, but again, I like these cooldowns and stuff. Like if I'm spending my entire turn not doing 21 damage with Noxious Blast or, you know, whatever, then this doesn't feel too good. But upgraded, it's okay. Like strength, speed, and no cooldown, that's pretty good because speed like guarantees that you're going to get the hit off. So this isn't a bad move to slot in, because usually if you're doing like a Wander or an Alchemist build, it kind of looks like this with everything unlocked. So it's not a bad drop in for 5. It's good on Physician. Could be a little bit better. Maybe base? I don't know. Really not sure, because this is one of those moves that is solid. It would be nice if it got buffed, but then if you buff it, it might just break. So, we'll see, I guess. Disco Blast, this is, this definitely could be better. The Shuffle effect is probably the best thing on it, because if you can hit something in rank 4 and just pull it all the way to the front randomly, it used to do that in DD1, I'm pretty sure it does that in 2 as well, then that's some pretty good value. But otherwise, like, percentage chance of weak, I don't quite understand that, especially because it doesn't hit rank 1, which is oftentimes a lot of damage in rank 1. It can hit 2, so that's also a lot of damage, but... And then you get Daze, and then you get Stun on combo. Does this even work anymore? Because it used to be like 2 dazes equals a stun. Can you still daze and stun the same enemy? I'm actually not sure. It would be funny if you can. As far as like buffing this move, it would just be nice if the weaken was guaranteed. Like that's a good start, you know, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But I really don't see a reason there's only 25%. Because again, with the other moves available to you that are much more high value, this usually isn't justifiable, except maybe Physician. Indiscriminate Science, baseline, pretty good, especially if you have a lot of token gen. Upgraded, super good. It's only got a 1-round cooldown, you can just throw it out constantly. Anyone that can make a bunch of tokens instantly, like Man-at-Arms, Highwayman used to make more. But yeah, there's a lot of characters that just make tokens, duelists, and being able to consume those for health is really nice. And this move definitely needs a nerf, 100%. I just hope that they don't take away the negative token removal, because that is something that is very, very hard to find in this game. And I would be very happy if that stayed in some capacity. Cause of Death only has super value against like bosses, especially if they don't have death armor, like FF. Just because, you know, you do a ton of damage, like up front, you just front load your damage, but a lot of the hard enemies that you want to stack damage over time on get multiple actions, so they just burn through it faster anyway. So it's not as good as it could be. Malediction's actually the best buff this move could have got. So it's not even to Plague Doctor herself, but the fact that Malediction lasts for rounds and it's constantly ramping means that Cause of Death gets a lot better. As it is, though, not great. Like, if you're not running a Cultist, usually not worth it, because anything that's going to die to damage over time when you hit Cause of Death was probably dead in a couple turns anyway, like one turn. Magnesium Rain is another move that's really good, and kind of feels like you wish it had like something extra, like it did 1 damage or something, but this is a lot like Vapors, where the moment you tweak anything on this, it might break it and be too good. For paths, Surgeon is pretty solid. So you get increased healing on everything, and your blights are weaker, and then Incision's damage, well, your blight application chance is lowered. And then Incision gets even stronger. So this is a solid path, honestly. The only reason it's even remotely close to held back is just because damage reach is kind of premium compared to frontline damage. There's a lot of frontline damage in this game, and this does a lot of frontline damage. Like, this could be your frontline damage dealer with no issue. But usually having access to Plague Grenades specifically is better in the long run. But this Surgeon's still great. You know, you can still do good things with it, for sure. So I'm not saying it's bad. Alchemist, this is just Wanderer Plus. Just straight up. Like, anything that's good on base Plague Doctor becomes better, just because you have increased chance of sticking your blights. This was the same line of thought in Darkest Dungeon 1, where your goal was to cap your accuracy so you never miss. This is the equivalent of that. You're capping, or at least increasing, your technical accuracy for damage over time. So the more consistent you are, the better, because in Darkest Dungeon, there's a lot of randomness, and anything that makes the game consistent on your side is usually a big, powerful thing to have. So this is obviously busted. Position. This is like how good Vapors could be. Like, that's pretty good. You know, 2 strength and a speed every turn on Master. That's pretty nice. Even Unmaster, this gets some pretty good value, because it goes on cooldown, but it's like really efficient in terms of generating tokens, which is nice. Ounce gets a bit better because it gets the stress res. There's no like native piercing for that. So Ounce is better on this, which is nice. Noxious gets way weaker because the blight amount should go down. Yeah, it goes down by 2. So it's almost fair. And even though Incision gets less bleed, it still has some solid on-hit damage. So Incision's still a good move to equip for damage, because you can go 0 damage Physician, but it's usually better to have something to help chip in, just to like proc death armor, pick up kills, whatever. The other one that you get here is Disoblast. This is better than Wanderer, obviously, because you get the res piercing. And res piercing's always good. Disoblast by itself isn't too good, but actually you get Vuln too. This is good. This is good. Like, why isn't the weekend guaranteed? You get guaranteed Vuln, Shuffle, Daze, Stun with res piercing. This is good. And that's something I want to allude to for maybe like a future video, is when I talk about control tools not being the best in this game, it's because, you know, damage and access to damage is so easy compared to controlling enemies. And road healing's overpowered AF, so you don't really need to slow down the damage too much outside of bosses. So with that in mind, a lot of times if a move is going to be strong as a control move, it has to be at this power level. It has to be something like this. It has to be something like Smokescreen upgraded, Occultist Hexes, like Weakening, Curse, Vuln Hex. Like, debuff moves need to be at that power to compete with other stuff right now. I'm sure people disagree, but can't please everyone, right? So, Physician, not the greatest. Has a couple really good tools, but it's really just like, if you're not like running 2 or 3 of these to get, if you're not running like Vapors and maybe Disso, it's they're kind of wasting time, I feel like. Maybe something like this. I don't know. I'm theory crafting for no reason. But with that said, this video is going to go in depth. Might be 2 hours. Who knows? PD kind of starting to fall from grace because it's being like more apparent that Alchemist is just a huge outlier. And when you start taking that away, she's, you know, pretty fair. And Alchemist will go eventually. Don't get it twisted. I mean, she's on deck at some point, right? So with that in mind, I'm going to say A. She's still powerful for like IS, which is the same on every path, except Surge and it's better. And the damage over time coming out of her is pretty good, and she has a couple interesting abilities. Regardless of paths, you know. Or I should say for each path. Alright. Yes. Actually, hold on. Boop, boop, boop. Alright, leave me alone. GR. My personal favorite. Love the character. Actually got really good after the rework. Spoilers. Pick is still pretty good. You know, it'd be nice if it removed block without critting, or it had this effect on base, but whatever. You know, because block, most enemies that generate block don't repeatedly generate it. Like, they'll start with it, but, you know, some enemies can give it to others, or, you know, get it on themselves constantly, like implication, you know, stuff like that. So it's not that it never has value. It's just that the value is like a niche thing on something that's supposed to be just a consistent ability that you want to hit most turns. And the reach is meh. Like rank 1 and 2 is starting to be not as great, because rank 3 is kind of a blind spot, I'm noticing. Throw Dagger base, this doesn't do much on Wanderer. Like, the damage is okay, ignoring guards, whatever. You know, there aren't too many enemies that guard that are a pain in the ass. Like, you get drummer, anti, stuff like that, but that's about it. Ignoring dodge from stealth, not like, it's good. It's not going to go off too often, you know, because you have to know they're going to get dodge, you have to get your turns in the right order, you have to go into stealth to ignore dodge, when it's like you could just hit them, you just take the 50-50 and swing anyway. If it's dodge plus, then it gets better, obviously. And then the bonus crit on combo, this is probably the best move that gets it, just because it can get up to 80, which is okay. Flashing Dagger is pretty good after the buff, just consistent damage. In the middle, decent crit, so not much to say about that. Poison Dart's really good damage move for most of the game. Kind of got sideways nerf when Deadeye got nerfed, but then it's buffed and Venom drop. So, you know, give and take. Really good move. Still really good. Really wants a Blight Trinket. Absinthe, very good. Just the heal potential, the dodge, the speed and stuff like that. All of it's really nice, especially the dodge plus. Like, you don't have to be under a third of your life to get the tokens. So if you're full life and you think some BS is coming your way, just slam it, you know, get dodge plus. Dead of Night, really good for controlling the battlefield and getting some extra heals. Has 3 uses, which never matters outside of like creature dens. Glint in the Dark got kind of nerfed ever since Deadeye got nerfed, so this needs some help, because a lot of moves kind of catch up to it, especially when you start going into paths. And Execute 3 on stealth is cool, but like not necessary. Like, Execute 2 is enough, and conditional Execute 3, that's only applicable to a few things. Lunge, great move. Being able to ignore a lot of defensive tokens in stealth is good. And the damage is solid, the crit's solid. The apply on crit knockback 3 is kind of odd. You do get the 20% movement piercing, or at least you should, because you get a crit. But like, a lot of the times when you hit this move, you're throwing it into rank 3, because that's where like more squishy units tend to be. You know, like Cabin Boys, Fishmonger, Maids, Ladies sometimes. You know, like, you're always trying to pick something squishy. Shamans in the Sprawl, for example. And there's a list of things that this applies to. So getting the crit and knocking them back doesn't usually matter too much. And a lot of teams operate in the premise of they either disrupt the back line and like pull them forward or something, or because they usually have low resist, so being able to pull them is easier than shoving frontline enemies because they tend to have higher move res. And if you're not doing that, then doing damage to the back line is usually the priority, so most teams work back to front, meaning that the crit effect isn't too impactful, but being able to ignore tokens in stealth is really good. Pirouette, this move got slightly better because you can actually apply the debuffs to the enemy, but getting into stealth and hitting this quickly and efficiently is pretty tough, because if you shadow fade, you know, you have to push her back up to the front to get it off. If you use Dead of Night, that means your entire team had to kill something, and she's fast, so she probably already went. So you kill something turn 1, and then you Dead of Night, and then turn 3 you Pirouette. You know, it's like, it's not bad, but just it takes a bit to get there. So having something that puts her into stealth immediately is usually better. It's an okay move, does some solid damage, hits the front 2 ranks. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. Rep RT, this move got buffed on pretty much every path. The fact that it has no stealth requirement to use now is great, and it's got some really good upsides. Shadow Fade, good source of stealth, and you get strength on upgrade. Pretty good movement tool. Never bad. Never too amazing, though. For paths with Deadeye, Bro Dagger gets a lot better, so we like that. Crit, you get 2 speed. She's already the fastest hero. This doesn't usually matter too much, but the extra damage is very good. Flashing just becomes a backline ping and does a bit more damage, so this is really good in a few fights and certain enemy mashes like cultists. It's really good on. So pretty solid. Absinthe, you get a stacking crit bonus, and you get slightly less dodge, but still really good. And then we have Rep RT on this path. This is another thing where it could be really good, but the issue is that it takes so many turns to get value. So you have to, if you want the crit value, you have to go into stealth and then use Rep RT. The enemy has to swing at you a bunch of times. They have to not hit you, because we all know dodge tokens are a lie. And then you start getting some extra crit. The other thing too is, like, if you have combo on some of these, like Throw Dagger, her crit's already pretty high, so it's like, it's easier to just chug Absinthe once or twice than it is to set this up. So, unless you're running blinds. If you're running blinds and dodge, then this probably gets a lot better. And Shadow Phase the same. Venom Drop, this is a pretty good path already that got better because they took the speed penalty off. And this path puts out a ton of damage. Alright. So if you spend the 1 turn setting up with Shadow Fade, or just start chucking, like, you can do this too, you know, but usually it's okay to Shadow Fade because you even get the speed token on upgrade. Dude, I didn't notice that. So you get the Res Pierce, you get 2 stealth tokens. Your first turn is Shadow Fade, get all your Res Piercing, and then just chuck Flashing Daggers. Usually 1 or 2 Flashing Daggers just kills the middle enemies, like, by itself, because Plague Grenade can do it with less damage technically. And if this has more damage and some good on hit and decent crit, it's going to do better. So I'm really surprised this move got as strong as it did. But, you know, that's cool. I'm here for all freaking Brave Robber buffs. Bro Dagger is kind of whatever. It's back to its, like, base form almost, but then it also does weaken on blighted targets. It's not useless. I'm not going to say it's useless, but it's, again, one of those applications. Like, it's only really good for bosses most of the time, or like size 2s, you know, your Tangle Knights, Pit Fighters, stuff like that. mini bosses, then it's okay. But like on the regular jobber size 1 bandits, no. It's not going to get the weak value. Poison Arc gets a little bit... I don't even want to say buffed. It just kind of shifts gears. It doesn't get the combo crit anymore, but then it gets a little more blight. But it is some pretty solid single target blight. But it's not really going to pop off until you get the res piercing. So either have a trinket like Corrupting Cleaver or Shadow Fade. Absinthe, this is a goofy Absinthe. The nice part is you can use it under half instead of a third life, so that makes it much, much better. And unupgraded, it's okay. Blight's not super common from enemies. Like, there's only a few that do it consistently. But being able to remove all dots on Mastery is nice. That's a very nice change. And then we talked about Shadow Fade being probably better than Wanderer's Shadow Fade just because of the path and what it enables. So this is a really good move to have. It's like, if you don't have every unlock and you're running this path, it's probably going to feel bad until you get like Shadow Fade. Night Sworn, my favorite path. Went through some changes, like some definite changes. The damage is still the same. It ignores dodge but not block. When stealth, it gets bonus damage in stealth and then executes in stealth. Or no, on mastery, not stealth. But execute 1's not the best. Better than nothing. There are times it helps. But execute 2 is where the money is. And not execute 2, so. It's still pretty good. It's, like I said, relatively hard, good crit and all that. And is there any other synergy this gets besides like bonus damage? I don't think so. So we'll take a look at Throw Dagger. This is just kind of an odd choice for using in stealth. I guess if you want to make sure you have like Shadow Fade off cooldown, you can Shadow Fade, Throw Dagger, and then Lunge. And that could be like your 3-turn combo. And getting past dodge is obviously good. Getting past riposte is very niche. There's only a couple enemies that riposte, that especially that are threatening. But yeah, it's kind of whatever. Flashing daggers gets pretty cool. So if you have this mastered, you're in stealth, you hit all 3 people in the back. This is almost full party hit. The damage is solid, and you can obviously scale it up. And if you get to the point where it's mastered and you don't remove stealth, then you just like can throw this out consistently without thinking too heavy into your turn order. Then we have Pirouette. Pirouette is very good on this path because there's really no drawback to it anymore. And it's like if you are in stealth, ignores block. With how hard it is to get into stealth, most of the time, this path does it the best. Ignoring block by itself is... I kind of wish this was like block and dodge. I don't think that would be overpowered, but who knows. And then repartee, this is the coolest repartee the character has. So instead of going into like taunt tank mode with taunt and dodge, she goes into stealth and gives taunt to someone else. This is a directable taunt. Like, that's cool. So you can throw taunt, because she's so fast, you can throw taunt onto like your riposte character before they get attacked. You can just taunt damage away from people very easily, and then turn start, you get stealth, but then you lose it at the end of the turn as well, so you have to like make sure you use it on something. But you can do better combos being able to do that, especially with the mastery where it lasts an extra turn. So like you can lunge because you're in stealth, and then you can pirouette because you're in stealth, and then you come out of stealth obviously after all of these, and then next turn you start in stealth and you can like throw dagger or flashing. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. If you don't pirouette, you can even use glint in the dark. What? Yeah, this is a really fun repartee. I love the direction they went with this. So, Grave Robber, also A tier. The only thing keeping her out of S is that her damage outside of critting is kind of mediocre. Like, Lunge is obviously pretty high damage. She has some pretty strong damage on paths, like flashing daggers on Venom Drop. But like, just on average, in general, her damage isn't amazing compared to someone like Highwayman, Hellion, not even Ravager. I think Hellion puts out some pretty solid damage. Yeah, there's some pretty good damage dealers out there. Her thing that she has over most other damage dealers is that she's self-sufficient. So it's actually pretty hard to kill this character if you plan your cooldowns correctly. And that's pretty awesome. Okay. Next. Dismas. It's on Dogmas. I think that's my mod profile. So Dismas goes through some interesting changes here. On Wanderer, Take Aim got nerfed. Pistol Shot's still the same, I think. I think Wicked Slice got buffed in this patch. I don't remember when it got Execute. But, you know, a few things changed. Grape Shot got a little bit better IRC. I can't even... Like, his tweaks were kind of minor to the point, like, outside of his paths, that I'm actually having a little trouble remembering them. I think Double Tap's still the same. Open Main's still the same. Robbery got the crit steal, which is kind of cool. Double Cross, I think, is upgraded. There's like the old Yellow Hand Double Cross. Anyway, just looking at what's in front of us. Wicked Slice, pretty solid damage, good crit. Execute 1. Never bad, just never good either. Pistol Shot still stuns. Okay, just I don't understand, but yeah, there you go. Duelist Advance, still get 3 riposte, some dodge and stuff, pretty nice. Tracking has some pretty good usage in like its niche scenarios, and you can use it everywhere, which is nice. So there's a couple enemies that are really annoying when they get stealth. A lot of enemies can generate dodge, and then you can block dodge gain for 2 rounds, which is really good against like Librarian, for instance. And then Guaranteed Combo helps other people. So tracking's solid. It's not something that you leave on the entire time unless you need the combo, but when you put it on in those spots, it feels good. Take Aim is gladly nerfed because this isn't the auto hit button anymore, especially when it's not mastered. Now a lot of times you only hit this really if you get the blind removal as well, but not getting the other effects. I think what did I give before, like a speed token, not getting that. Sharp Shot not having speed anymore. That you know, makes it a very competitive move instead of a clear favorite, which is good. So it's still good. Not as oppressive and crazy as it used to be. Point Blank Shot, solid, good damage, hits rank 1, combos, love it. Grape Shot, minus speed on hit. The damage is solid, minus speed is cool. Not bad, it's cool. But you definitely want to like use tokens with this, like, I don't know, strength, stuff like that. It's efficient. That's what I'll say. It's an efficient move. And it has a pretty good debuff. Open Vein is almost slept on. I don't know. It's like, it does a lot of bleed against combo. Like that's almost that's better than an incision hit. You know what's weird? Outside of combo, it's actually worse than incision. That's kind of funny, actually. So Plague Doctor's got the better stab attack, but on combo, this comes out ahead. That's actually kind of funny. Double Tap, really good for bosses. Just almost better Wicked Slice that hits into 3. I'm not gonna say like strictly better, but it these two kind of do the same thing, and this one does it slightly better, but you don't get to hit rank 1, which sometimes you need to. Robbery, this is a great move. Just regardless of path, very strong. Double Cross, unmastered is okay. Mastered is pretty good. 2 Vuln's a lot of extra damage. For Paz, Wicked Slice gets Execute 2. This is good. This is what I was saying before. Like, Execute 1, kind of whatever. Execute 2, huge. This makes it a lot better because this is a lot of size 2 enemies, mini bosses, some bosses, or if they're even at 3, just hitting them once, or having a dot tick, hit them and getting rid of one, and then just Wicked Slice to finish them is really good. That's why Execute 2 is so powerful. So this is really nice. Duelist Advance, you get block instead of dodge, interesting. And it's forward 2 instead of 1, so he's always up front. And that's pretty cool. I like this. I like this version. I like Rogue a lot more than it used to be for sure. And it might be my favorite path on him now, just because I like riposting and dance comps. I think those are fun. Grape Shot, back one, I guess. So instead of PBS, you Grape Shot. So you have like 2 options here. These are both different applications. Like this is a lot of damage to one person. This is some okay damage to 3 of them, plus like get rid of multiple block, dodge, whatever happens. So it's not bad. Plus, if you're weakened or something like that, you know, doing a weakened Grape Shot doesn't feel as bad as doing a weakened PBS, because that's a lot of damage on the table. And then Take Aim. I've seen a lot of people not like this move, and it's surprising. You get a lot of riposte, you get riposte damage. You get the speed token back, which is really nice. And then round start, more riposte. So like this is just damage over and over, and it's really efficient for getting rid of tokens. Because every time you swing, you get rid of your negatives. If you hit them, you get rid of their defensive positives. And that's very good. So I think people underappreciate this. Sharp Shot went through the biggest changes because it was the most broken path. Before, it lost the speed bonus. Pistol Shot doesn't stun anymore, but it does really good damage. 7 to 10 with reach and 15 crits. Yikes. Like, that's super good. PBS is back too, and knockback too, so this is pretty interesting. I haven't really played too much with PBS opener on Sharp Shot, but it's cool from the limited experience I have. Grape Shot, this is where people start getting worried about Red Hook designing characters into like cookie cutters, because you have Deadeye, which is, you know, hits rank 3 and 4 with flashing, and then you have Sharp Shot, the other range path, hits rank 3 and 4, Grape Shot from the same ranks. And is this just better? 3 to 6, 5 to 7 with 15. Let's see. Let us see. Okay, you get more crits, so that's fine. That is fine. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't notice that. Anyway. Maybe flashing's better because of the crits. Anyway. And then the last one is double tap. If I remember correctly, the mastered second shot gives combo, which makes it very cool. There's a lot of chatter around this move on Sharp Shot recently. There are people that talk about how this is more damage than Pistol Shot. It's like baseline, it's not. Right? This has a little more crit. I'm looking at the master. You know what? Let's look at the regular versions. 4 to 8, 10 crit. This is 2 to 4, 5 crit. On average, this is less damage. And I don't know what universe where there's math that makes it so double tap is clearly better. Like, you know, you might have like Bloodthirsty and a Trinket, and it might do like 1 extra damage on average. But a lot of double taps issues are covered by Pistol Shot, so it's not like they're mutually exclusive either. Like, double tap is really good at dealing with enemy defensive tokens because it removes multiple because you hit them twice. Or if Highwayman has like 2 weak, 2 blind, something like that, he gets rid of them quicker. So those are cool. The issue with double tap compared to pistol shot is this is more of a utility move, and pistol shot's a damage move. Pistol shot has higher base damage, it scales better, like strength really helps it. It's more token efficient for buffing him, for example. And I think the thing people seem to forget is double tap does not hit rank 4. If it did, probably better than a pistol, but it doesn't. Rank 4 is such an important spot to hit in this game that just using this instead of pistol shot just seems like a mistake. So they're both good for different reasons. If you're looking for damage, it's pistol shot. If you're looking for utility, it's double tap. That's my stance on the matter. Yellow hand. This is really cool with riposte bleed. That can be very good in a lot of cases. There's other stuff it gets to. Open vein is arguably almost weaker. Like, it's slightly weaker incision until it's mastered, then at least you get the debuff res. Or the bleed res penalty, so that's okay. Grape shot, again, does the... Actually, grape shot's pretty good, I noticed right here. The upgraded version is nice. But again, it's one of those things where turn economy is a big deal. So it's like, you grape shot, and then you open vein. Open vein. Next turn, grape shot. And the debuffs have to stick, by the way, which they're more likely to. I'm not going to say they aren't, but, you know, if they don't stick, then it feels really bad. And then, obviously, more open veins. This might be better with a bleed-centric team, so if you have, like, Berserker Hellion, or, not Soloist Jester anymore, just Jester with bleeds. And who else bleeds? Occultist with Anamnesis. And Incision is really good with this. You know, honestly, Surgeon might be this thing's best friend. You just spam Grape Shot and let PD do all the damage afterwards. I gotta try that. That sounds good. So, Grape Shot's pretty good. I think it's actually the thing probably holding all this together. And then obviously, Riposte gives you extra bleed inflicted. So it's like, you want to have this up a lot. And then he doesn't really have a way to move back outside of PBS, does he? So, yeah. Robbery gets a little bit better in terms of damage. Bleed is the most common damage over time type, so being able to lower that from enemies is really helpful. Like cultists, tangle enemies, sprawl, flares or whatever they are, the tall dudes, they bleed. There's a lot of things that bleed. Boss Baby. Shroud. The bandits. Like, bleed is so common that the debuff alone is almost worth it. And then the mastery, you get bonus bleed dealt, so it's more damage. So this is a really good move too. I would say the winners on this path are Grape Shot and Robbery, for sure. And then Open Vein, if you can fit it in. But this is actually a pretty good path for facilitating other bleed heroes. And that's pretty nice. Like, you can even run him in just rank 1, you know, and you don't get the riposte. You just, like, spam Grape Shot, Robbery, and, like, Open Vein. That could be pretty good. So, Highwayman, I think he still holds on to A. He's got some pretty good utility that really almost no one else has, like the token theft, because that gets rid of like crit riposte. Those are hard to get rid of normally. There's only like 1 or 2 things that deals with that. And then his damage output is pretty good. Like the damage output floor is pretty high, so it's like it's always consistently good damage. And then like the ceiling is pretty good as well. So like if you buff him and scale him up, then he does some pretty solid damage too. Shouldn't even say solid, he does really good damage. Like if you have trinkets, bloodthirsty, you know, the stars aligned in your favor and the solar eclipse is happening, then you can like crit pistol shot on sharp shot for like, I don't know, 30 plus. Really cool stuff. So I think as a damage monster, he's great. Moving on to Man-at-Arms. I understand that we're taking a lot of time talking about some of these characters already, and that's because there's a lot to dissect, but also the characters that have gotten a rework, like Grave Robber, Highwayman, about to be Man-at-Arms 2. Since their paths aren't just like stat upgrades now, there's more to talk about. So it's worth covering more stuff. It's going to take longer, is what I'm trying to say. Some of you might like that. Some of you might also like that, because no one's going to dislike it. Man-at-Arms went through the balance pass. Arguably came out stronger, which is wild to say, because he was OP before. He's arguably the best. It was like, it was almost a dead heat between him and Flagellant. And like, he's still good. They nerfed him in a couple places, but not in others. Like, Defender got a cooldown, thank goodness, praise the light, it needed that. Because this move was dumb, and spammable, and busted. Oh, he's the best tank in the game, he should be able to do that, bro. He's got block, and taunt, and everything out the ass. He doesn't need to be able to spam this, too. Yeah, Defender got nerfed, very nice. Bolster still OP. Hold the line still busted, you know, free run to the front. Bellow, they nerfed the speed on this of all. Like, Bellow didn't need the nerf, dude. When enemies can get like ordained and hastened and just get +6 speed or other random stuff like Antiquarian making the whole Pillager Mash 10+, you're gonna take off, you're gonna nerf this. Removing riposte and crit already is kind of niche. Not a lot of enemies generate those consistently. And then you nerf the speed too. I don't know. It's not a very impactful nerf, if I can be honest. It's an odd choice to me. That's all. Plus it has a cooldown. Can you spam it? Retribution, rightfully nerfed. It should have lost the taunt. The taunt's way more impactful to this thing than the block ever was. But, you know, people got mad at that because people want taunt. People like to have their taunt. Their little blue horn is their favorite token. I kid. But yeah, it's still good. Command got changed because the upgrade doesn't remove the cooldown anymore. It just gives you an extra strength token, which is good and bad. It's more efficient for turn economy, but it's weaker against blind spam. So characters like Leper that blind themselves constantly, some enemies like spiders blind you constantly, and this loses a bit of value against that. So it's not better or worse, it's just different. Stand fast. This is why I say this character didn't actually get nerfed, because old stand fast was the bulwark stand fast, which is you get block every turn. And old bulwark stand fast was this stand fast, where you get taunt and block every turn. Is this just weaker? No, this removes combo, so that's still pretty good. But yeah, you're giving a character that can generate block in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on upgrade. Like, he just makes so much block, you know? And then you give him another taunt move. I don't know what else you could have done with this outside of, like, the sergeant change that would kind of nerf this, but like, it's the same. The character has not fundamentally changed. That's why I don't think he got worse. Especially on Wanderer. You can just play Wanderer now. You get all the tools. You get the utility of Bellow. You get the hold the line stuff. You can still hit Defender all the time. Crush still heals for some horrendous reason. Rampart still does Rampart things. Bolster's still broken. Like, it's super good. Retribution's still good because it has taunt. Then you have like taunt block. So you can just like... like Retribution, Stand Fast, Defender, and just like rotate stuff, you know, and it's just constant block. Constant. Like, I don't think another tank has that kind of mitigation. Especially like 2 heals in the kit. So, he's still good. Do not get it twisted. And the reason I say even got better, because, you know, obviously Standfast got taunt on Wanderer, which is huge. Courageous Abandon got buffed, so it doesn't suck anymore. And, you know, the damage scaling's a bit better. The launch ranks are still restrictive on Wanderer, but yeah. Strategic Withdrawal, no one presses this. They don't know this move is busted. And it escaped the nerfs. So he's still strong as hell. Sergeant went through some very, very interesting changes. Sergeant was my favorite path before because it was so defensive. And now they turned it into a backline support, which is cool. There's a lot of backline support units. Totally fine. My issue I find with running Sergeant, at least so far, is that it makes team building a bit weirder. Because he wants to be in 4 to get a lot of the value. You can still put him in 3 and get, you know, great value. But like, you know, if you don't pair him with like a strong healer at that point, like PD, Vestal, Ronaldo even, Flagellant, it gets so weird. Because if you want to run like new Deadeye, which needs to be in the back 2, and Sergeant, which has to be in the back 2, especially 4, then your pick of frontline healers gets very, very slim. Like, you have Regen on Vestal, which isn't that great to keeping the entire team alive all the time. Ray is okay at doing it, but like that's it. You have Flagellant and Ray. And Occultist. Shoutouts to Occultist for, again, being one of the coolest characters. But yeah, it gets very, like, the team building gets more difficult, especially when you run it with other characters like Jester, because then you're just stacking the same tokens on people. Like, everyone's getting like strength, crit, or whatever. You know, it's like it's a lot of the same stuff. So it's not bad by any means. So like this all allies ahead thing, you want him in 4 because of that most of the time. You can still run him in 3, but combo heal all allies. It's flat healing instead of percentage, so good and bad. Rampart still the same. What else gets changed here? Bellow. So base Bellow, not bad. Gives everyone 3 speed. This is like marching orders from DD1. With Arbalest, it gave the rest of the party speed, so that's kind of cool. The upgrade's nice. Remove 1 negative token, plus 3 speed. It'd be nice to remove more, like 1 base and then 2 mastered. Just because a lot of negative tokens like to come in groups, you know? Like you hit Death Story, you get 2 weaken. You get hit by Librarian, you get 2 blind. Is it 2 blind, or does he give 1 blind? I think it's 2 blind, he gets 1 dodge, but anyway. Yeah! You get hit by a Weber, you get, 4 blinds, 8 vulns, and like 2 combos. Like, that kind of sucks. So it's not bad. But definitely could be better. That's gonna be the theme here. It's like, good, passable, okay, could be better. I'm advocating for buffs on a character that I said was OP. Strange. It's mostly this path. This path's a bit clunky. And then command, again, everyone in front. Not everyone in front. You pick a person, next hit applies combo, and then they get speed if it's upgraded. That's pretty nice. So you can like have them go first, set someone else up. Like it works. Everything in the kit works. It is thought out. It synergizes. It's just when you go outside of him with team building, that's when it gets like a little more restrictive. And let's see. Retribution. This is what I was thinking of. All allies ahead when under 3/4 get strength. Kind of a weird choice. All allies ahead when under full life get strength. Much better. And then under 25%, they get crit. So against mountain bosses that like to just blow up your team every turn with cleaves and stuff like that, or just massive damage hits, this gets a lot better. Because then you can, you know, bounce back with like strength and crit and stuff. The strength's pretty much going to get rid of the weaken from Death's Door, or at least one of them. But what can you do? So you can like just sit back there and just, you know, scream, bellow, retribution, command, or whatever, bolster. And, you know, do interesting stuff. I guess it just comes down to team building. It works. You can make it work. Is it worth making it work? That's the question. Stand Fast is a nice buff. So you get a ton of move res and dot res, and you can pick the target. This is really good in certain fights like Leviathan that, you know, check move resistance. There's a lot of enemies that just do damage over time, so being able to block that is nice. It's a really solid buff overall. Especially the 50, that's a lot. So, Sergeant's cool. Bulwark, Riposte inflicts daze. This one I had the most fun with, I think, out of the new Man-at-Arms, and I tried everything. So Bellow removes strength, riposte, and crit with no cooldown upgraded. That's pretty good. But again, these enemies don't generate these quick enough in most cases to really need to spam this, but it's there. Hold the line. This was where it got really fun because it doesn't immobilize them anymore. It's still forward 3 for some freaking reason. I guess that's actually kind of a nerf to it, so you can't spam it. But you know, if you're on a dance team, which everyone's like afraid to play for some reason, if you're on a dance team, then this gets really cool. So if you have the ability to keep giving them block, either through like consecration, I guess items, skills like Jester. When I ran this, I ran Jester with him, the new Jester, and I kept hitting play out. So he'd do like stand fast to get block every turn, and then like play out over and over. And he would just have like he'd have at least 2 blocks, sometimes 3 every turn, you know, and it was pretty cool. So it did some good stuff there. And you can just spam stuns. I had an entire run where I was just stunning the hell out of everything just to do it. Rampart got a bit odd. So for some reason the damage doesn't go up on this, and the utilities is not as good, I think, compared to Hold the Line, because you get more out of Hold the Line. The issue is that this immobilizes when you hit them, which if it succeeds, there are times this is good, but if it fails, it can suck. I guess that's true about everything. But like, if you don't get the push, like you're trying to push an Evangelist into 3, so they use Rush Judgment instead of like critting you with a cleave, and they resist the knockback, but not the immobilize, they're stuck there. You can't do anything about it for a couple turns. So when this is mastered and it's got the res piercing, that's a lot better. But again, you need 3 block for that, which I find odd. So in most cases, instead of like getting, because it's up against Hold the Line, because they're both forward skills, although you can use this in 1, which is nice. But like, for 2 tokens, would I rather just stun the enemy and skip their turn? Or would I try and knock them back and maybe immobilize them, and if both those things happen, they kind of skip their turn because they do something suboptimal? I don't know. I just think that these 2 kind of compete for the same thing, and Hold the Line just wins out. It's slightly more damage, more crit, better effect. That doesn't mean you can't use it though. And then Stand Fast, this is the block gen per turn plus remove combo. So really good. Like I said, the loop of having just Stand Fast, Hold the Line gives them a block as well, Defender, Bolster, like everything gives them freaking block, dude. So you don't need Retribution anymore, and so you don't use Courageous Abandon, although you can. You can't get block afterwards, but like you can Hold the Line into Courageous. You can get the 2 block back, or keep it, or whatever. That's interesting to think about. Execute 2. Okay, that requires more testing. That looks pretty cool. You get riposte days, but you don't want to spend your block. Right, so probably not the best thing to hit, though it does have uses, like dazing them so you can get your combos out sooner is also good. Vanguard. So when you riposte, his riposte damage gets +1, and then he loses resistances, which is fine. He starts at 30, and the moment enemies are ordained, they pierce 10 of that, so you're down to 20, which is essentially 0 if you know math. I'm kidding, it's not 0, but it feels that way at times. So this penalty really isn't a big deal, especially like 1 or 2 stacks of it, it's essentially 0 anyway. Courageous Abandon gets damage buffs and lowers his HP when you use it, and that's interesting as well. We'll start with Bellow since it's first on there. Actually, no, we'll start with the moves that are relevant. So Retribution doesn't change, but it keeps ramping up in damage, which if you just want to like guard and defender, or defender and Retribution stuff and taunt and just like keep slamming stuff over and over, it's pretty good. The issue is he can't generate repose fast enough to keep up with that, although he kind of can. Like once this is mastered, you can just like Retribution, Defender over and over, so you just have a bunch of block. Someone's always guarded, and you're always riposting. I think his riposte damage is like 3 to 6 base. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. Does it say in the tooltip? No, where does it even say it? Thanks, Darkest Dungeon. Yeah. You can get up to like 5 stacks of riposte damage, so like +5 on a hit. That's like hit and crush every turn without the heal. Pretty good. Courageous Abandon. The move gains +2 damage, stacks up to 5 times for the battle, and you lose max HP, not percentage, it's a flat amount. You don't take 4 damage, you lose 4 max health. So that's interesting. And even though the mastery doesn't change the damage number itself, you get more crit, and you get technically more damage out of it because you can stack it higher. And then the HP penalties technically harsher. You lose like 2 more HP. Instead of 18, you lose 20. Again, not really the end of the world on a character that has infinite block. Yeah, you just spam this, and then we'll go back to Bellow now. Okay. So Bellow on himself adds 2 stacks of the riposte and Courageous Abandon buff up to the 5 cap, and then he takes 2 stress. Baseline, not very good. 2 stress to like kind of ramp up when, no joke, you could just hit Retribution anyway and start getting the riposte damage immediately there. Like, it just, 2 is the right amount. If it was 3, it'd be kind of busted, but like 2 is just such a slow amount comparatively that you can almost, it's almost better to just ramp this up by like swinging these 2 instead. At least in my opinion. Then when it's mastered, you only get 1 stress, but you ignore the debuffs. That's pretty cool. Unmastered, kind of a meme. Mastered, pretty good. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is where it's better. It's like more efficient, less punishing, stuff like that. It's worth hitting. So if you're already at 5 stacks, or you go from 3 to 5, for instance, you ignore all the debuffs for that turn, or for the next couple turns. And then you get 1 stress, which is minimal. And then you just, start putting out damage. Stand Fast. Removes all Vanguard buffs and debuffs. Heals 10% per buff removed. Or per 2 buffs. So this is maximum 50, because you get, up to 10. And then with the master version, the debuffs should mirror the buffs, obviously. So you can heal up to 5 stress. This isn't bad. I mean, if you just need an instant heal to like help survive, because you get all your resistances back, you get your health back, your max health, and you heal some of it. Pretty good. Pretty good for keeping them alive. So I will say, after all of that, Man-at-Arms, in a lot of ways, came out of that patch better. because his weaker moves like Courageous Abandon got buffed. His other paths have more diversity, so it's like instead of Vanguard being Wanderer plus and Bulwark, you know, just kind of doing its thing, and Sergeant being a support path. Now Sergeant's a stronger support path, Bulwark is more consistent and easier to do damage with, and then Vanguard has a clear new purpose that is also a lot of damage. And he still has all his other tools alongside that. He still has Retribution Taunt, he still has Defender, he still has Bolster, right? He still has everything. He has all his tools and more. So he still has. Like, in some ways he was nerfed. You could say he's weaker. I'm not really going to argue that, but in a lot of ways he's better too. So it's really just kind of ridiculous.